Okay, so good afternoon everyone and welcome to this webinar series from Intrinsis. In this special series we're actually coming to you with an update of what SIMULIA Abaqus 2016 has to offer. We'll start off by showing you what's changed with the installation, and then we'll go into specific details. Just before I begin, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me, so if you use the chat in the actual go to webinar interface, and just let me know if you can or can't hear me. That's okay. Okay, that sounds good. It seems like everyone can hear me. That's great. Okay, so let's begin. So what's really changed with the installation of Abaqus itself? So everything I'm going over here can be found on our website. Best place to find the installation guide is through our website, www.intrinsis.com/blog. And there's a blog post for SIMULIA Abaqus 2016 installation, and it allows you to download the document which I'll be covering here, and just gives you a couple of bits of extra information. Okay, so this is a tech guide which I'm going over. So what's changed? So essentially the installation is pretty much the same as before, but there's now an addition of an additional file that needs to be installed, which is called the Abaqus installer. So if you have a look at this Word document that I've got up on the screen, you can see in the installation media I've basically got license servers, Abaqus CAE, so the actual interface, graphical user interface, which we all use for Abaqus, but the solver itself is separate. And the reason for that is because it's shared with the 3D Experience platform. We won't go too much into the 3D Experience platform as we're focusing more on the actual CAE side of things. Okay, so the installation order itself, the first thing that should be installed is the Abaqus solver itself. So again, there's a separate .exe to install this. Whenever you try to install Abaqus or other Abaqus products of 2016, you're always going to be prompted that the installation has changed. So even if you've read the notes, you're still going to get the pop-up because SIMULIA wants to remind you that the installation procedure has changed and to read the documents just so you don't go wrong. I have to be honest, I did think, oh, I don't want to read it. I've installed all these types of applications. I'll get on with it fine, and I didn't. Hence, I've written this guide just to make it easier for you guys to go ahead and install. So the solver itself, just like anything else, just next, next, next. Pick a directory where you want to install it. Pick the solvers that you want to install. I just went for everything. Next. Let it install, so install, and then that's it, close. So you can see it's not very complicated at all, it's fairly straightforward. We then, just like before, go on to install all SIMULIA documentations. So that's the help files essentially. The reason we install them first is because when we go to install Abaqus, it will pick up any web services that are running for the documentation. If we didn't install the documentation first, it's not too much of a problem. It's just not recommended. We'll have to go back and manually associate where the documentation's found in the installation, etc. A bit more of a pain. So to install the documentation, same as before, run the installer. Next, next. You can view the installation licensing guide. This guide is good enough, so just next again. And then select what type of installation you want to perform. So I prefer to have a sort of web installation as well as a PDF. The web installation is basically if I look for help in Abaqus CAE, it pops up in a web browser and I have full searchable, I can perform searches as well. Okay, so next again, the host name of where the documentation is going to be stored. So this is important as well. So you don't need to locally install it on your machine. You can install it on a server as well. So you don't want to go around, if you have a lot of CAE installed on local machines, have to install documentation everywhere as well. Just install it on a server and point the CAE application to the server. Okay. So again, next. install, and so on. Again, optionally, if you're installing iSight, go ahead and install iSight, the documentation first, sorry. So again, launch the exe, next, 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 install, close. Then we go on to install one of our license servers, so FlexNet. So that's what we're probably most familiar with if we've been using Abaqus for a long time. Again, it's got actually easier than it was before. The reason why it's got easier is because prior to 2016 we had to configure FlexLM ourselves. Now with the current installer of FlexLM, it configures it basically for you. So again, if you launch the .exe, run the installer and next, where would you like to install it? Next. I left all these as default, so I didn't change anywhere where I want to store anything. If you maybe use a D drive and install programs off of D, you just might want to change directory. Okay. Now, this is the important bit. So what FlexNet license server installation lets you do is actually point to the license file itself. Okay. If you point to the license file itself, press install, and then close, it will set up and start the services for you. So there's no need for you to actually go and open FlexNet. It's just made it a lot easier for people to run the installer. Then, as we're all familiar with, install the Abaqus product, CAE. Again, it will just give you a warning to say the installation is now changed. Primarily, it's trying to warn you that you need to install the solver first, which we've already done. Okay. Again, next. Press next. Now this is what's different. We need to specify the location of the Abaqus solver installation. So it tells you the default at the top. If you haven't changed where that is when you installed the solver, again just browse to that directory. So that's what I've done. And there we go, it's picked it up, so next. Use the default here, next. Specify the license server. So I installed FlexNet before, or if you have DSLS, select DSLS and specify the license server. Next, then where the documentation is, so that should be picked up by default as long as you've installed it on the local machine. If it's on a server, then you might need to specify where on the server. Next again, and then install. So the only real difference here is just specifying where the solver is stored. That's the only difference. Now, it goes into a lot more detail, the installation, so we then go into iSight. So again, iSight is just next, 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 fairly straightforward. Specify the license. Nothing's really changed with iSight installation. Nothing's really changed with a Tosca structure installation. And nothing's really changed with the FE safe. Okay. But again, if you want to know more about how to install iSight, FE safe, or Tosca structure, just visit www.intrinsis.com/blog and you'll find the blog of a full installation guide of how to install SIMULIA Abaqus 2016 products. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over to my colleague now, David. He'll cover what's actually new in Abaqus CAE. David?
Okay, thank you very much, Emmett. I hope everybody can hear me as well. If you have any questions regarding installation, just please type it in as a question and we will answer it at the end of this session. Okay, so to carry on, what's new in 2015? So basically, what you've noticed first, it's not called 615, it's called Abaqus, or sorry, it's not called 616 either. It's all the releases are aligned up this time, so you no longer have to worry about which version of iSight, FE-Safe, Tosca, and so on versus with which version of Abaqus. It's all streamlined, all released at the same date, so from now on, everything is going to be called 2016. It makes things much simpler and much clearer. So also what we can expect for general contact, there's improvements in terms of edge-to-edge, edge-to-surface, and surface-to-surface contact. It's ongoing research to improve general contact capabilities, and every year there's additional and better functionality that you can expect. Another very important addition is a vertex to surface formulation, which would allow you to have pointy objects in contact with other ones. This is very useful to improve behavior when there's something pointed, and this is again new feature. Also, edges. You can define edges in contact similarly to the points. You can see the difference in these pictures. There's a significant difference in terms of contact pressures and in terms of simulation accuracy. Furthermore, it was requested by many of you, contact outputs for Abaqus Explicit were extended, so now you can get similar contact outputs as in standard, so you can get the contact openings and the slips from contacts, and as you see, you can get the tangential directions and slip rates as well. So this is very useful if you are running like these tire contact type simulations, and now as in Abaqus standard you can get the outputs in explicit. Also contact status similar to the actual contact pressures and slips, you can get it in explicit. There has been improvements to make simulations run faster, and linearized contact will actually help you to increase your productivity or reduce your simulation type. Basically, instead of using a full nonlinear contact formulation, you can use approximations. So this is a good feature to speed up analysis when you have sort of linearly behaving contacts, like as you can see, if you have proper bolted connections where you're not expecting things to move so much, then this is a significant improvement in analysis speed. Also, other feature is enhanced contact. It existed before. You could work with circular or revolution type surfaces, so spherical or cylindrical surfaces. However, now more types of surface can be used as to refine and to augment your contact. So it's going to give you better results for different, more complex surfaces. Also, new types of elements, especially people using CFD are very happy to see pyramid elements, which you can use to transition between a tet mesh and a hex mesh. So this element now exists. Also, there are new multi-physics type elements. So in addition to the existing coupled elements, now you can have coupled temperature displacement, pore pressure displacement, and pore pressure temperature displacement elements. Okay, so also improvement is the rigid body rotation of tiled surfaces. Now it will be counted for by default, even in Abaqus standard. So you can see there's in Abaqus explicit, this feature has been already included, and as you can see from 2016, this is included for standard as well. So also there's been improvements for material modeling, so you can have rate-dependent nonlinear kinematic hardening plasticity, and the other two, as you can see here, so orthotropic clay plasticity. This is mostly for geomechanics, and you can also have the Johnson-Cook plasticity for springback type problems. Okay, so what's also new is the analysis performance improvements. So now you can use your GPU more efficiently. So as you can see, you can achieve quite significant speedups, especially if you use multiple GPUs in your computer. So as you can see, you can get up to 1.8 times the speed up by using the AMS architecture with your GPU. So also, as you can see, steady-state dynamics from now on, GPU acceleration works. So you can see now you can go really high in terms of number of elements. As you see, you can even simulate full car body type problems with multiple load cases and many modes. So this is all going forward in terms of parallel computing and performance improvements. Okay. Also, what you could do now is the tracer particles for coupled Eulerian-Lagrange simulation can follow the material motion. So you can this improves your post-processing, and it has minimal impact on your performance. So the CEL and so CEL capability has just got better in this version. Also, similar, the discrete element method has new improved options. So you can add rotating, expanding, or moving inlets, which is a big improvement. If you were using discrete elements, you probably were looking for these additions. Also, SPH elements at the boundaries now get improved treatment. This is done by the usage of virtual particles which are basically generated on the other side of the boundary, and this would generate a more realistic behavior for your SPH elements. Okay, so now if you use model instancing, which is a very useful functionality originally introduced in the 2014 release, what you can do now is you can instance connectors, connector sections, and contact interactions, so you wouldn't have to redefine them as before. They will all be instanced when you instance your model. This helps you to save significant amounts of time if your model includes a lot of contacts and connectors. Okay, meshing. Now you can generate cohesive elements through the mesh edit tool. So before you would have to define them manually, or you would have to define actual thick elements and reduce the thickness to 0 by moving nodes. Now you can all do this using the built-in functionality. Okay. Also, new plugin in the mesh module that would allow you to change whether your the mid-edge nodes, whether they are attached to the geometry or they are placed in between the two edge, so the two side nodes. Okay, so if you load up you can see the difference if you load up the plugin, and you can change between having mid nodes at the middle of the geometry and halfway between the two. This is also new functionality. You can see the difference from this side view. If you have to have a mesh like this, now this plugin lets you define mesh like this. Okay, there's some additional improvements regarding usability. So before, if you use the CAE, you often found that there are some issues with copy pasting. So you would sometimes copy, then close the window, and you will not be able to paste. So a lot of these issues have been corrected and fixed. So now they are all work. So you can so you can improve your productivity by simpler copy paste in Abaqus. Also, another sort of annoying feature, unless you found a workaround, that usually the font size was pretty small. So when you post-process results, the default font size was very small, so you couldn't really see the numbers. There was a workaround before, but now you can actually change, and it is modified to have a larger font size, so you can get on with your work without having to change the font size to a larger font every time. Okay, another useful feature if you were using linked viewports. So if you were looking at more than one viewport and they wanted everything to move, zoom, and act together. So now you can link all the viewports together with a single click. As opposed to before, you would have to click on each in every individual viewport to link them together. Okay, also what you can do is expand the viewport to full screen. This way you can use all of your screen to take better pictures, and you can also see your model in more resolution. Other feature that's been improved, if you've been using it a lot, are the force and moment arrows. When you look at the free body section cut, now they have better colors, so now you can see them easier, and it's better for taking screenshots and post-processing. What else can you do? Before, if you made a view cut, your minimum and maximum location always stayed as if the whole mesh was present. Now if you create a view cut, then you will be able to see the minimum and maximum locations on the view cut as if you actually removed the elements that you're cutting. Okay. Additional features, if you use paths to post-process and plot the results along the line or along an edge, now you can do it according to nodal coordinates. This is an additional feature. It is useful if you want to plot these type of paths. Okay. I think this is what we can say about the new release of 2016. There's a lot of very useful features that would help you to increase your productivity or to reduce the time spent on little annoying things like the copy paste before. So that's definitely a very good and useful feature. But there's a lot of other features, as we've seen, the contact improvements that are not immediately obvious. They are sort of below the surface. However, they will all give you more capability, and they will all let you analyze more complex problems and get your simulations more and more realistic. So I thank you for your attention. I would like to ask if you have any questions regarding what you've heard, or any questions regarding the installation procedure. Then can you please send a question through the message, through the chat box, and then we will answer your questions. Okay, well, if there are no questions, if you're still writing a question, please do send it. But if there are no questions, then I would really like to thank you for your attention. And I hope you will get a lot of good use out of the new 2016 release of Abaqus. Okay, thank you.